Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, welcome to the stream. This is a live stream that will be the essentially the live version of me starting to record my videos for rebuilding an application. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about here, let me just show you quickly. I have an application called CodeNotes for iOS, and the idea here that I came up with was that I was going to rebuild this application. Got a screenshot here, and I'll show you it in a simulator in a second. And I'm going to rebuild this application with newer technologies. So that's going to be, SwiftUI, latest version of Xcode. Probably is going to be some combined in there. There will be some Catalyst as well because I'm going to make this application cross-platform. So without sort of going over all the details that were in a previous video, if you are interested here, if you go over to patreon.com/PWCOM, there's actually this Swift subscriber here, which is $4 a month, and that's where all the complete videos are going to be. This live stream is going to be, partially me recording the video. This subscription here will be for the full videos with bonus material and that kind of thing as we work through this process. But I also wanted to add extra pressure on myself and do some of this as a live stream, just for fun. So with that, what is the application? So this application here, firstly, the source code is available. You can find it on my GitHub page. And if you're wondering how to find that, if you go to peterwitham.com, just wait for the website to come up here, you're going to see that it'll actually be in here. Right, if you go up to this top section here, we have all of my social profiles, so you can find and follow me there on all of those. But one of them is the Octocat here, which is GitHub. And if you click on there, it's going to take you to github.com/graphicsguru, which is all my repositories. And the one you're looking for is CodeNotes for iOS. So this is the original version of the application. This is the V1 that I built for the iPad. And the idea here is it's an application for taking notes as a developer. So as you can see, it supports Markdown in the editor. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. So I've got it running in the simulator here. Just want to give you a quick overview of the original application before we start work on rebuilding it. So with that, I'm going to be setting up here to start recording the videos. So just bear with me for 1 minute. Like I said, this is the live stream, so you get to see it in its raw state, but I am actually planning to record these videos, so I'm going to be setting that up as I go. Okay, welcome everybody to the first video here in the series of rebuilding this application. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to recap here and go over the original application. The original CodeNotes for iOS was, or is I should say, an iPad application, an iPad only, and that's part of what I want to address in the new version. But we're going to go through and use the application here to give you a quick overview of what it does. You can download the source code from my GitHub here. You can go to github.com/graphicsguru, and if you look there, you're going to see there's a repo called CodeNotes for iOS. The link will be in the show notes for this. And this is the original version. This isn't the new version. But if you want to see the code for the new version, it's all there. It's all open source, so it is all there for you. You can download it, play with it, do whatever you want with it. So let's take a look at the application. So the idea was that what I wanted, this was a self-serving application. I wanted an application that would not only let me play with Swift as I started building this application, as I was playing around with Swift and those kind of things, but I also wanted something that I could use on a daily basis. So the idea here was that I could create a note and I could set whatever programming language it is, and this would just serve as my reference library. So let's take a quick look at the settings for the app. Okay, there's a button here where you can, when you delete a note, it'll either pop up a confirmation to say, are you sure, or it'll just go ahead and delete it based on what you have here. This one here replaces existing note content on paste. When you're looking at a note, and if you go in here and go edit, and you're editing the note, if you was to paste, you can either append it to the current content or replace the content. So that's what that one there is. And then firstly, this is way before iOS 13 with dark mode, so I had my own custom dark mode settings, a theming system that I built into the application here for a dark mode, right? So that's what that is, and you can go back and obviously just turn that off and go back to light mode. That's obviously going to be very different now with iOS 13, so that's one of the things that we'll be looking at. So let's go ahead and create a quick note in here, and the idea was that you give it a title. So we'll just say my note title, and then you would select the language, whatever the language may be. Let's do some Swift, since we're going to be programming in Swift here. So this note, and let's just say this note was, this is how to create a basic variable. Now this is actually an earlier build, so this one doesn't have the markdown in here. I'm actually running an old build here for some testing that I was doing. But you would say let let my var equal some string, right? So it's just some some Swift there. Okay, so you would create these notes, you can edit them. If you hit copy, it copies the content here of the code portion. It does obviously support upright mode as well, so portrait and landscape are there, and you can delete the note. So that was the sort of the basic 1.0 version of the app. You could also swipe here to delete a note, and things like that. So sort of standard features. So this was the version 1, and this served fine as a learning exercise, and it was something that I would come back to now and again. But I thought, for these videos and for my own needs of what I needed, it was time to rebuild this with all the newer technologies. And, at this point, obviously, I know so much more about the language and technologies involved. So I thought, let's go ahead and build this in SwiftUI. And I'm going to show you every step as I do it, and that's what you're going to get out of these videos. I am actually showing this right now as well as part of a live stream. You're not going to see the whole video here. But like I say, if you go ahead, I'm just going to quit that there. If you go to compileswift.com, that's the home of the website. But if you go here, like I say, it's V1 of the code. If you go to peterwindham.com, that's my main home on the web. You're going to find lots of other content there. And then if you go to patreon.com/PWCOM, that is where you can sign up here for this Swift subscriber level, which is going to give you access to all these videos, the full videos, and the entire sequence as I work through this over time. It's very much a living project, so none of this is pre-recorded. It's all going to go out in real time as I work on the app and everything else. I will include some live streaming of some parts of it, just obviously to attract interest and to just share some of the content and things like that. So, if you're not sure that you want to do this, you can, of course, by all means, go to the YouTube channel and, youtube.com/graphicsg, and you'll see these live stream versions and some snippets of the videos there. So, if you're a subscriber, like I say, you're going to get to see all of this as I build the app with better, newer features, all the newer technologies, SwiftUI, Combine, Catalyst, and all those things. So with that covered, like I say, that's the original repo there, and you can sign up here. So let's get rid of this, and what are we going to do in this video? Well, in this video, this is the first one of the series. So in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Xcode. I'm going to set up the project creation. So we're going to create the Xcode project. We're going to be using the current versions as of this particular video. So that's going to be Xcode 11.2. It's actually 11.2.1 now, since 2 days ago, I think it was, that the 0.1 release came out. We're going to be using Swift 5.1.1, which comes with Xcode, and I'm running this on macOS Catalina, so I get all that beautiful live canvas to help with the layouts. So once we create the Xcode project, I'm going to go in and do some of the standard sort of cleanup of the project structure, move some files around, create some logical groupings, things like that I do for every project that I work on. And then once we've got all that done, I'm actually going to then create the Git repository for this, for the source control. I don't just check the box in Xcode, and we'll get there and you'll see it. But the reason I don't check the box in Xcode and create it straight off the bat is, I want to do some cleanup first. I want to get things laid out the way I want, clear out some of the, the sample code and things like that I don't need. So I like that first initial commit to be as clean as possible. So the bonus here is you're going to get to see how you can create essentially a working Git repository from any project, any folder essentially on your machine. So that's the goals of this initial video. Not sure how long it's going to take us at this point. It probably won't take too long, but like I say, we're doing these in real time. So, I want you to discover as much of this process as I do as we go through it. So with that said, let's go back here and I'm going to fire up Xcode. So bear with me a second here. Okay, so that was the original project that we've got running there. I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. Let's move this up here, and I'm going to use a single view iOS application. I want it to be as basic as possible. And I'm going to call this CodeNotes 2. Okay, so that's going to be the project name. It's going to be under my team. Use my name, use the standard convention of, reverse domain name, com.peterwhitham. So this one will actually end up being com.peterwhitham.codenotes2. Obviously, if you're following along, it's going to be whatever you call it. We're going to use Swift. We will use SwiftUI and not storyboards. I'm not going to check any of these other ones at the moment, but I hope that later on, I'm not sure yet. On the original version, I used core data. For this newer version, I'm not sure if it's going to be core data yet or not. The unit tests and UI tests will, and CloudKit, we may use all of those. Obviously it's a good practice to have tests and that. But from the onset here, I want the code to be as clean as possible. So I'm actually going to leave these unchecked because you can actually include all of these later on if you want to. So with that, I'm just going to go next. It's going to ask me for a place to put it. I'm actually going to put this in a new folder here, and we're going to call this projects. Like I say, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to check this box here for create Git repository on my Mac. We will do that manually. So I'm going to put it in there, and I'm just going to say create. It's going to go away. It's going to do a few things. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a simulator because I can run it on a device, but I want you to see some of what's going on here on the screen. So I'm going to just change it to an iPad Pro. As you can see, things are a little small here. Let's make this a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so the live canvas is paused. We'll hit resume to see the initial view. We're just going to let it do all of its things, make it happy to begin with. Okay, so the build succeeded. That should be what we expect because, basically at the end of the day, we haven't done any code yet. So here's the iPad version. Like I say, it's the 9.7 with just the standard template of Hello World here. That's all looking good. So let's start cleaning up some of these files. Now, before we do that, I'm just going to check something here. Okay, great. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to leave that text in for now. Let's go over and clean the files up. So what I like to do here is I like to lay these out in a bit of a sensible structure. Now, SwiftUI obviously is still a very new technology, so a lot of those best practices and things like that, laying out of projects, people are still figuring those out. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new group, and I'm just going to call it the views. So for the views for the application. So I'm actually going to drag the default view into there, and we'll put the content view, which is this one here that you're seeing. We'll put that one in there. The launch screen, I'm going to leave that there for now. I'm also going to create another group, and we'll call this assets. And I'm going to put the assets catalog in there. Now you may be wondering, well, it's just one file. Why are you doing this? Well, because as I close these up, I like this view here to be as clean as it can be, right? Because if you're trying to find something in a hurry, something like that, it's just nice to have all of these structured. So another one you can do here is I'm going to create a new group, and we'll just call this delegates. And in there I'm going to put the app delegate and I'm going to put the scene delegate, okay? And we can actually just close that one up for now. In fact, we can close up assets. We don't need that one either right now. So that's cleaned it up a little bit, right? We got this view here. I'm actually going to now delete the text out of there. So you're going to find that it can't render it because, you know, obviously there's nothing in the view, right? But that's fine. We're going to get back to that. I just want to clean this code up. So we've got that nice and clean. We're going to go and look at our CodeNotes application here. Now let's talk about this for a second. So first of all, this is version 2, so I'm going to change it to 2.0. It is the first build. Going to leave that alone. I'm actually thinking that I may change the bundle identifier later on, but we'll leave it for now. Right now, it's set for iOS 13.2 on the iPhone and the iPad. I do want this to be a Mac application as well this time around. Now, when I check that box, you know, for any of you that are, you know, developers out there that saw the DC videos, you know, it's this famous thing about check a box and you got the Mac app, and we all know it's not that simple. But it's going to give me some warnings here, and it's going to say that it's going to create a unique bundle identifier for the Mac. Yep, that makes sense. You know, obviously for the Mac build, there's only going to be Mac compatible content. Again, that makes sense. Security and app sandbox for the macOS app. Yep. iCloud container will be default, but it will match the iOS app, so that makes sense as well. Hopefully that's going to help us out. So we're just going to say yep and enable. Okay. So now we've got all of these set up. Looking down here for the main interface, we're going to leave it as the launch screen for now. We're going to have portrait view, upside down view we're not going to bother with, but I absolutely, definitely without question want landscape views. We're going to leave these alone here as far as the status bars and those kind of things. We'll take a look at those later on. We don't have an icon yet, so I'm just going to leave everything else alone here. We'll just go through and, you know, leave everything else as it is. Okay, so for right now, we're just going to go with that. And let's just go ahead and run and make sure everything's fine. So the build failed, so let's click on here and see what it says. Computer property. Oh, actually, so sorry. Yeah, it's gonna foul the build because I don't have the text in there. So let's just put, we don't have anything to return in the view basically, and we need something. So we'll just put this for now, just so it's happy. Okay, and then let's run it again. Hopefully that's gonna fix all the issues. Yep, because now it's got content, it can return it for the view. So now it's going to fire up the simulator, and let's just make sure that everything looks exactly how we expect in the simulator. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to let it rotate to portrait. Take a look there, see what that looks like. Just give it a second. Okay, so there's our text label. Make sure that everything still looks good in landscape. Yep, everything looks great. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and stop that. That's all the content here set up. Let's talk about source control here for a second before we go any further.